This is the Pna Headlines. I am William Theo. We start with a decisive move to get to the bottom of anomalies in flood control projects by a new Public Works chief. As he formally took over the Department of Public Works and Highways, Secretary Vince Dizon asked the Department of Justice to issue an Immigration Lookout Bulletin Order or ILBO against officials of the department and some contractors tagged in ghost and substandard flood projects. In a letter to Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla, Dizon named the DPWH officials and other private individuals being investigated as ordered by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Dizon also requested the Bureau of Immigration to provide information on the listed individuals to the DPWH and law enforcement agencies. He says the move is necessary to enable current investigations to proceed immediately and hold those liable accountable under the law. The letter listed over 20 individuals to be subjected for monitoring in case they attempt domestic or international travel. Dizon also announced a pause of all bidding for local funded projects as these would undergo a thorough review to ensure that there would be no more waste of public funds. He also adds foreign-assisted projects would continue as international bodies are stringent in monitoring the status of these projects. In related news, the Bureau of Customs, or BOC, has secured all 12 luxury vehicles owned by the family of controversial contractor Sara Discaya, who is among those under investigation for alleged anomalous infrastructure projects. The vehicles were the subject of a search warrant issued by a Manila court and were traced at the residence of the Discaya family in Pasig City. Customs personnel uncovered on Tuesday 2 of the 12 luxury vehicles at the compound of the St. Gerard Construction General Contractor and Development Corporation. 7 other vehicles were surrendered later, while 3 others are under repair and would be handed over at another time. Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno said they would check the vehicle's import records for compliance with customs laws. Meanwhile, the Senate may investigate the Discayas further for tax evasion, vehicle smuggling, and corruption due to major discrepancies in their ownership of luxury vehicles. Senate President Pro Tempore Jinggoy Estrada cited data from the Land Transportation Office, stating that at least 63 vehicles are registered under the names and companies of spouses Curly and Sara Discaya. This exceeds the 28 luxury cars admitted by Sara in an earlier Senate hearing. Estrada plans to subpoena Curly to testify at the next Blue Ribbon Committee hearing and have him explain their family's amassed wealth. The Department of Agriculture does not see any massive spikes in retail prices of rice, even as a temporary import ban took effect this month. Agriculture spokesperson Arnel de Mesa said the country has a high and stable rice supply as the 60-day import ban, which ends on October 30, coincides with the wet harvest season. De Mesa said imported rice is still priced between 42 to 45 pesos per kilo, while the maximum suggested retail price for 5% broken imported rice is set at 43 pesos per kilo. Based on the DA's Bantay Presyo premium imported rice in Metro Manila costs from 42 to 52 pesos per kilo, while local premium rice is priced between 42 to 60 pesos per kilogram. The DA expects a harvest of at least 11 million metric tons of palay this season. Local palay production during the dry harvest season hit 9.08 million metric tons in the first half of 2025, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. Meanwhile, shipments of imported rice may still enter the Philippines until September 15, despite the ongoing import ban based on the policy of the Bureau of Plant Industry, or BPI. These include rice shipments made before the onset of the import ban. Ports that will allow the entry of imported rice are the ports of Manila, Cebu, Davao, and Cagayan de Oro. Shipments sent on September 1st and beyond will be returned to the country of origin. Exempted from the 60-day suspension are Japonica, Basmati, and glutinous varieties from Vietnam. As of August 28, the BPI expects 419,000 metric tons from 210 importers that received clearances last month. DEMESA said more imports from last August are expected to arrive soon, and there are still other arrivals for November to December. The country has received 2.8 million metric tons of rice imports since January. In other news, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or BFAR, assures due assistance to fisherfolk affected by the annual 3-month closed fishing season in the Davao Gulf. The fishing ban, which started in June, was lifted on September 1. BFAR Davao Region Director Reni Garcia said the government recognizes the economic impact of the closed fishing season on coastal communities. The BFAR, in coordination with the Department of Agriculture, Department of Social Welfare and Development, and Department of Labor and Employment, distributed over 3,200 food packs to fisher families across the Davao region. They also provided nearly 400 chickens and 12 goats as alternative livelihood in Davao del Sur, Davao Occidental, and Davao City. Displaced fisher folk meanwhile receive short-term employment under the DepEd or Tulong Panghanap Buhay sa Ating Disadvantaged Displaced Workers Program. Garcia explained that the fishing ban is a science-based and long-term strategy to protect and repopulate fish species in the region, including matangbaka, mackerel, and brown galunggong. He said the ban is also part of the BFAR's commitment to ensure the sustainability of the Davao Gulf. The Department of Education, or DepEd, commended the Marcos administration's historic proposed budget allocation for the education sector. This comes after President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and the Department of Budget and Management earmarked 1.224 trillion pesos for education under the proposed 2026 National Expenditure Program. In a statement, Education Secretary Sani Angara said this historic funding allocation complies with United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization standards. The DepEd has the largest share in the proposed spending bill next year, amounting to over 928 billion pesos, which is higher by nearly 19% than its funding allocation in the 2025 General Appropriations Act. The proposed budget will be used for school operations support, addressing classroom shortage, adding manpower in the sector, and funding the computerization program. The remaining allocations will be given to DepEd's attached agencies, including the National Museum of the Philippines, National Academy of Sports, Teachers Education Council, among others. Apart from DepEd, the proposed budget also allocates for state universities and colleges, the Commission on Higher Education, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. In our business news, it's heads up for those aspiring to become civil servants. Over 8,000 vacancies in different government agencies are available at the 2025 Gov't Job Fair nationwide on September 2 to 5. Organized by the Civil Service Commission, or CSC, in celebration of the 125th Philippine Civil Service Anniversary, the job fair offers plantilla and non-plantilla positions in national agencies, local governments, government-owned and controlled corporations, and state colleges and universities. CSC Chairperson Marilyn Yap says this year's number of job openings surpassed their target of 6,300, marking the highest number of vacancies in the history of CSC-led job fairs. Yap encouraged fresh graduates, job seekers, and career shifters to seize the opportunity to join the government workforce and serve with a big heart, dignity, and excellence. Persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and members of LGBTQIA+ community are also welcome to apply on site. Meanwhile, the Board of Investments, or BOI, reports that the investments from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, remain strong, reaching 252 billion pesos since 2020. Majority of the investments came from Singapore at 246 billion pesos, followed by Thailand with 4.34 billion, Malaysia with 1.7 billion, and Indonesia with 12.27 million pesos. BOI, an attached agency of the Department of Trade and Industry, said most of these investments were focused in information and communication, power, manufacturing, administrative and support services, and agriculture, forestry, and fishing. These projects are seen to generate over 15,300 new jobs for Filipinos from 2020 up to July 2025. In a statement, BOI Executive Director Evariste Cagatan said the BOI approved projects from ASEAN investors, specifically those in information and communication and the renewable energy sector, is aligned with the Philippines' push for smart and sustainable manufacturing services. Trade Secretary and BOI Chair Cristina Roque said they are committed to the government's goal to strengthen the development of micro, small, and medium enterprises and deepen investment relationships with ASEAN member countries. And those are the latest and the biggest stories from the PNA headlines. For more news updates, visit our website pna.gov.ph or our Facebook and X account, Philippine News Agency. You may also watch the PNA headlines through the Philippine News Agency's YouTube account and via the News and Information Bureau website under PNA News. I am William Theo. This is the PNA headlines, bringing you stories that unite the nation.